We have the Jackson House Rehabilitation Project update.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lisa Newsom. I'm the project coordinator that handles the special projects. And tonight we have Dr. Carolyn Collins and Dr. Angela Scott that will be doing a presentation for the Jackson House. They'll be providing an update for the 2022 presentation that they had, just providing an update for us tonight. Dr. Scott, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. And we have a PowerPoint, but we also have that letter that's in your packet. I'm not sure if it's in your.
Yes,
Okay. So I'd like to first kind of direct you to that letter, and I want to back it up before I even get into that first. I want to thank you all for having us here and for listening to our passion about the Jackson House. Having been involved with this for about 11 years now, trying to save a historical, I call it landmark here in our downtown community. It's a pleasure to be able to actually do a presentation and defend. In that sense, we did not have an opportunity in 2022. I do need you to know that we were presented the funding through at the time, through the city council. And in doing so, we were not aware of it. We're pleased to receive it. But when Mr. Bennett gave us the first $1 million, we understood that that was at that time a combination of an agreement to move the house forward from both the city council, CRA, as well as the Bennett Foundation. We found out about it much later on. So we're here today because we want to say thank you, and we're asking for the funding because we are moving forward in a very positive way, even more greater news than we thought we had before, and that we had on Saturday when we did our press conference, and what we received as well earlier this morning in another meeting. So we are ready to move forward. We have been working for the last 9 months to a year trying to make sure that funding that has been submitted to us for the Jackson House, that those funds were in place, that they were solid and solidified as to how we get them and directions to tell us. And so we are pleased that we had opportunity to meet with CRA to find out what do we do next. And that's when they told us we need to come and present. So that's why we're here. In the letter, it really just kind of talks about the period of time that we've gone through over, I would say, over the last 4 years, 5 years, trying to make sure that we would acquire what was required, whether it was a code that was stopping us, whether it was, if it wasn't just the codes and the code enforcement and some regulations and things that needed to be corrected, but the family that actually owned the house had been unable to do what was required. And as a result of that, the maintenance of the house, the weather on the house, the significant delay that we've encountered, trying to make sure that we know what we had and what code was indicating that we needed in order to just move forward with the temporary easement on each side, et cetera. And much of that has all been settled now. It was just settled, and it has taken us that long to do it. Thus, the house is in the state of deterioration that it's in now. And we want to make sure that we maintain the historical designation, both in the local area, the city and county, with the state and with the federal government that have actually given the former owner of the house those designations. So I don't know whether I want to start, but I really wanted to make sure you all know that when we went before city council, they informed us last quarter of 2024, first quarter of 2025, that we did have that, and we was able to add that into the funding that we had from the state, et cetera. You'll see what those funds are. Well, we found out about that, and the city council recommended that that was 2 to 3 years old. Cost has exceeded what it was then, and they suggested we ask for more. I will tell you what I've said to everybody, there is no point in us for asking for money if we were moving forward. And that's why we did not ask for more. So we're here today to solidify that $22 million, but we don't want you to think that that's all we need. But that's all we're here today to ask for. Okay, so having said that, I can do the PowerPoint. Okay.
You want to do it on the screen or
Um,
we just want to call the packet?
I can follow the packet. Everybody have a packet? If everybody can, and I'll follow the packet, because I don't know if it wants to do so. So if you go to the PowerPoint presentation in the packet, I may deviate as we go through this and ask Dr. Scott to bring you up on some things. She's the vice chair of the board, but we decided about a year ago that we needed to move forward faster because the House was speaking to us. And in that process, we kind of created a new committee on the board in the foundation, and that committee was the ROC committee, and that was to really deal with the rebuild and the restoration. And to have a separate committee because our board at some point was delaying actions that we needed to take. And we couldn't afford that because we knew that some things was happening and the House was not going to allow us to keep moving it slow. And if we had to restart the rebuild, we were prepared to start the rebuild, even without the easement that we needed on the side. If we had to be restricted, we would go ahead and rebuild and no one else would be able to build on the side of us. So that's what we needed to do because the House was talking. And we heard the House speak and we listened. So we moved a little faster when folks told us not to, but we did because we had to. And now, had we did what we've gotten today over the past, I'd say 6 months, if we had waited, we would just be starting to look for things. And there are things that we've done that put us in the right position to try to start moving fast before the House do another breach as it did in last quarter, right before the last quarter of last year. So our whole motion, if you go to the PowerPoint, is to restore history to inspire future generations. And that's to allow people to know exactly what the Jackson House was. We've had a plethora of donors, and I'm going to go by your presentation. That's why it's better to do that, to go by that one, because this one might be in a little different order. So I'm going to use this one. And I want to start with the first person on that bracket engineer, just starting with him. He started before I started 10 years. A significant contribution over the years to that house, leading all the way down to Mr. Nicholas Peters, as well as a Mount Pilgrim Association, all of these folks in between. And I want to take this opportunity because she didn't want her name on here, but we're going to add her name. Mrs. Johnny Saunders, who was a young lady who was born in that house, was reared in that house, worked in that house, left the house and went off to college. Didn't want to be on our board, but wanted to be here to support us. She gave us the first $5,000. And Miss Johnny recently passed. And she's no longer with us. And I asked her daughter to give me permission now to, say what needs to be said and to salute her. Because while she was a resident, she really wanted to see this house saved. And her last interviews and talking with people when she came down was when we actually went through the house to market about 3 years ago. And her daughter and her son told her not to come, and she made her son bring her. So she was able to put on a hard hat, go through the house and be interviewed as well. So she is a donor. You don't see her on it. We have many other donors, but we just want to miss some. The house is a 2-story house. It is 24 rooms and probably got about 48 windows in it, which is what you'll see as we go on what's going to cost us a considerable amount to maintain the historic designation. It was there when the train station came, so it's in close proximity to the train station, which played a significant role in the individuals who was able to stay in the house. Miss Sarah Allen, then Moses, and then Mrs. Robinson. And most of us in Tampa who know anything about the house know that the last owner of the house was Willie Robinson, and that was the only son of Mr. and Mrs. Robinson, who was the daughter of the Jackson's family. It is the oldest house that is still standing to our understanding. We know it's a couple of further down over the Central Avenue, but it's one of the oldest houses that was left in downtown Tampa. We are not in the scrubs, although people say we're in the scrubs, nor are we on Central Avenue. We have been away from Central Avenue, but it is there, and we want to make sure that we maintain that house. There's a considerable amount of information out there that says it was in 1899, it was in 1900, and it was in 1901. We actually are authenticating all of that information. Now, we've been blessed to have someone who's actually writing a play for the house that we'll be using as a fundraiser to be playing here, as well as we're trying to construct a book. And we're making sure that we authenticate the information that you see in there. Travelers came to the house from all around and actually stayed in the house. And many of the people that didn't stay in the house stayed on the porch. They were able to sleep on the porch because of the Jim Crow era. They were not allowed to stay in the hotel. And it wasn't just African Americans, it was Native Americans. It was, and most people won't say it, but it was some immigrants that were Hispanic immigrants. So from Cuba, they stayed in the house. We had military families that stayed there that could not stay in hotels and places like that when they came in from the train station. And so as a result of some of that, there's so much that I call it veer off from the Jackson House that most people don't know. And I happen to live in Carver City, and Lincoln Garden actually came as a result of some of those military families that could not stay in hotels, that may have slept on the porch even before they made it a two-story rooming house and kept their family on one level and the roomers on the other level. And as a result of that, a man named Mr. Sims actually wrote to the United States military in DC and complained bitterly about this, and they went through that deal, and that's why there's a Lincoln Gardens today in Tampa. So it's some things like that that kind of veered off, and he was so happy to know that we were doing something to save that house. He never said he slept on the porch, never said he slept in the house. He was just so happy when he first found out that we were working to save this house. So whether it was musicians, and I usually don't talk much about the musicians except for one, because everybody know that that house was known for music and musicians stayed there. They had sets, and there was 3 pianos. We have a judge that has volunteered to actually restore all 3 of the pianos because of his interest in music. But what was so significant about the house, and my husband get upset when he hear me talk about it, because he know one professional baseball player that stayed in the house. And you should say baseball players, professional, but okay, fine, they stayed in it as well. But there were so many people were able to benefit from the Jackson House and be able to stay here, move here, or travel throughout the city, and that was significant as well. I oftentimes, before I say anything about the artifacts, sometimes I want to cry when I talk about that right now, but when I talk about musicians, all kind of musicians stayed in there. You heard people even say James Brown stayed in the house. He did not. James Brown during this time was too young, and the family would not maintain their integrity. As a young man, they would not let him stay at the house, but he did go there. He ate there, and he practiced with the performance that was there, but they never would allow him to stay because of his age, and he was underage. Addition to that, you'll see it mentioning here on the artifacts. All of the artifacts were supposedly put in storage, put there properly. We had an opportunity last year in September to go and finally find the artifacts. And so we found them, and they are not in the best of shapes, and they're not in the appropriate place. But we did a partnership with the University of South Florida. And they actually, Dr. say his name? Dr. Tanasi. That's his name, but Dr. Tanasi and his crew from the University of South Florida is digitizing. They're going to be digitizing everything. We have 5 units that were built and put the stored items in it and the artifacts. It is in a warehouse and not in a storage place. So because they were not properly placed as they should have been, many of them are damaged, but we're going to see what we can do. But in addition to that damage, we must repurpose everything that we can in that house to maintain the historic designation. We even have an artist that's going to take some of the wood that cannot be used, some of the items that cannot be used, and he's going to put them together in some type of a format, be a frame or otherwise, so that these will be items that you may see in the gift shop when we actually start selling when the house open, so that we'll have a source of income constantly flowing in, so we can keep this house from ever getting like this again. I've already mentioned about the historic designation. This page here where you see the 2015 picture of the house is simply say that during that time, we actually took a look at what the city of Tampa was doing with its 48 historical sites, and we're just blessed that the Jackson House was included in one of those 4,214 buildings that were in the city. Our goal is to restore this house, to rebuild it, to preserve the history. We want to tell the story of the house, the community, the neighborhood, and more importantly, Moses and Sarah Jackson. But we cannot leave out the Robinson descendants as well. And that was Mr. and Mrs. Robinson and Willie Robinson, their son. The goals we have here, and I'm not reading this verbatim because you guys have a packet you carry home. If I did, we'll be here long. So I want to be sure. But the goals, if you have a question, stop me and ask me. I'm okay. The agency will support the preservation of this cultural and historic heritage with the downtown CRA. And we want to consider grants and incentives and anything that would help us to preserve the house. The agency shall support the curation and enhancement of historical and cultural sites in the public spaces within the downtown CRA to celebrate and preserve the local history, to foster some community identity and create access to significant cultural landmarks and any historic sites. On that next page, what you see is the landmarks designations that we have on a constant basis now. It used to be about once every 3 months. I'm going to tell you now about once every other week. I get a letter from the United States Department of Assistance from the Department of Construction, and they are pushing hard. They say they understand the delay that we had with the hold up with not getting the easement with the code, but they want to know, when is this city is going to move forward with this house? When is this board going to move forward with this house? When is for? And this is coming from them, but we've indicated to them that we're closer than we've ever been. And what I am doing now is I'm submitting to them, as I am to you guys, a tentative budget and timeline, because they want a timeline, they want a budget. And they're pushing us hard they have been for the last 3 to 4 years. But the whole purpose behind it is they're looking for grants as well from the federal level to assist us to maintain this historical house. And so we'll be getting that to them. To give you highlights of what's kind of briefly, back in 2022, the foundation was organized coming out of 21, and we had to reorganize about 3 or 4 different Jackson House foundations that was there, launch partnerships and pursue funding with grants and trying to keep media exposure to what was going on. We went on into the reconstruction, and much of this is well documented in the state of Florida, because it was around this time that we were able to receive the $1 million AACH grant that was given by the state legislatures. They got together, having worked with us for 3 years prior to, and we had been asking them for money with 4 other entities in the state of Florida that was looking for historical dollars to save historical African-American projects in their cities and their counties. And so as a result of that, we were fortunate enough to have Representative Diane Hart and Senator Darrell Ruslan, who worked with us for 3 years to get money. And each year they got the money. They weren't successful. COVID blocked them 1 year. The year before that, they had to try to prove it was something that was needed. And resulting from them trying to help us here in Tampa, they were able to get $30 million. And that $30 million was spread out all over the state of Florida. So all 67 counties was able to bid after $30 million. We were fortunate. We were able to get $1 million before they gave out of the 30. And about half of the people who applied did not get any money. And so our governor decided that those were very good projects when he looked at them. And about a year later, he came up with another $30 million and gave to this particular AACH group and allowed them to give funding to the other entities that had applied. Everybody didn't get $1 million. Everybody didn't get $500,000. But if you could match, you got $1 million. And if you had no matching funds, you were able to get less than that. We have been given a quarterly report to the state every 3 months and renewing the grant every 6 months since 21 2021, 2022. 2024, you see some information in that about developing agreements and contracts and curation. We did earlier on go into an agreement with the Tampa Bay History Center for the sole purpose of serving as our fiduciary agent financially. We just felt as a board to make sure that the money was in great hands, being audited regular, and were being taken care of. So we did all kind of agreements, we did bylaws, we did contracts, etc. 2025 was a very busy year for us because that's the year that we just embarked upon moving with the city, with the county, with the more with the state. The state offered us another grant, which we are going to apply for now and try to get additional funds from the state since we're ready to move. But we, over the past 23, I would say almost to 25, it was a consistent working with the different companies, different individuals, and we were trying to get the 10 feet. We wanted 20 feet easement of the east and the west side of the house, which is the courthouse side for the west side, and the east side is the train station side. And we wanted that easement so that we would be able to comply with fire codes, safety codes, FEMA had some codes, et cetera. We worked with fire department, code enforcement with the city, the county, and everyone, trying to make sure that we could get that. And that took us quite a bit of time. We are pleased to say we now have we didn't get the 20, it went down to 10 feet. And we do have the 10 feet easement on the east and west side of the house. While we did not want to vacate the alley, and we tell people this because it's a fact, by vacating the alley, we no longer have access to the rear of the house. Because once we vacate the alley, we split the alley with the 717 and their parties who own that as well. But by splitting that, then now we have no way to come in through Nebraska or Twig or any other way to get to the back of the house, because if they decide to build something, we can't drive through their properties, et cetera. So they really really felt strong about, vacating the alley. And since they went ahead and worked with the city for us and got the easement, then what we agreed to do was to go ahead and vacate the alley. So we did vacate it. Yes, we did gain additional depth in the rear of the house, but we do now we now have what is required for code so we can move forward with the building of the house. The house speaks to you in 2025 on that next picture, because before the collapse that occurred, I think in August, September of 2025, it's kind of telling us we had to go in twice. There was a bar that fell down and was about to hit the cars. We see those little yellow lines, they're parking. So we had to go in, and our lawn man that was working with us worked with the contractor on our board, and they removed that bar that just fell. A bar fell up front, and that's why the overhanging awnings from the front porch start falling. If you can see those wood, it look like X's that you can see from the front porch throughout the house. In 2016, the company went in and did a stabilization from the $50,000 we got from the benefits that they did to all groups in the city. We applied for that. We were able to get $50,000, and Mr. Ronnie Williams with Timewell Construction did the stabilization of the house. 2025, I'm not going to go through that in detail, but it just still to tell you about some of the stuff I've already said, the meetings that we've had, the collaborations we tried to do with all of the governmental entities that we came in contact with. It talks about the collapse that occurred in late 2025 and the safety repair that we actually did with the city, which I'm not too sure if they really kind of was as baffled as we were of what we were supposed to be doing with that. The purpose of this update with you is to update you, revise, and modify the budget, as well as to educate you on where we are with the Jackson House. You see the next page, that's the collapse that occurred, and you see the repair work that is going on. The collapse was on the east side of the house, the east rear, and we have been quoted it would cost us about $500,000 to do that correction. We are just blessed that we have a 30+ year contract manager that's on our board. And about 3 years after he did the stabilization, probably around 2020, after he had completed the 2016, we actually went to that contractor. And he had fallen in love with the house and the history of it while he was in there doing the work. And we asked him, did he want to consider coming on our board? And we are blessed that he says yes. So he is a member of the board now. He says, we are not going to pay $500,000 for this. And so he was able to get someone that wasn't even 100,000, not even 50,000. And he was able to get the work done. So that company came in for the repair. Actions taken is just listing on what we do. We have kind of mentioned to you already some of the things we do with the quarterly reports. Every 6 months revision, we go before city council, we go before the historical board. Everybody was saying we don't know what's going on and we didn't know how else we could make sure that everybody was keeping current. So we try to do press release, we try to do press conferences, we try to do as much as possible to try to make sure that we can defray the comments and encourage the community on what's going on. Just showing you some photos of the 1851 Zack Street. The next page, you will see the contractor and the stabilization that went on in 2016, between 2019 and 2020 with USF and others. We went into the house. They did some more stabilization and they put a bottom floor on the second floor. They put a false floor there because we couldn't go upstairs. And so they did that so that they can go upstairs. We have legislators coming in, elected officials, and anyone that wanted to go in and put the hard hat on. And they was able to go through and take pictures. And if they saw something that they felt worthy, they marked it. So we was able to take those items and put them over in storage. On the projected scope of work, we've given you a projection. The contract manager, that Dr. Scott, and she chairs the RROC committee. They are working on that now. They are not complete with their work. We have hired an architect. We have an RFP out there now for a construction management firm. We do not want a construction manager. We want that firm because they've got to do all of the paperwork, make sure they're doing everything in compliant. And we expect them to do it all and not just come in and direct people on how to build. We have a proposed budget that is without the construction management firm. We had what we thought was about $4.3 million. Of that $4.3 million, we felt at one point that would be enough. We were told even at the city council by the councilmen and the real estate person, it wasn't going to be enough. And that was about a year and a half, 2 years ago. So we went ahead and had another reassessment. This is only a preliminary and an estimate. We were sitting on 4.3, which we thought would kind of be pretty good. And they telling us, no, you're not going to be able to do it. We will not be able to get it until the design plans are just about completed now by the architect. And as soon as we complete this RFP process, which is out there 20 days, it's 30 days out there. We may have to extend it because we want to go with no less than 3 bidders. And then we go through the process, and within that period of time, we'll be bringing on a construction management firm, and they are the only one that's authorized by law and processes that can actually give us a completed budget. There was one that I did send, and I sent that slide to go in here, and you will not see it. I have it here, but it's just to say that some of the funds are in jeopardy. The state grant that we have for $1 million, if we don't move fast to spend it, that money is in jeopardy. And it's simply in jeopardy because we're coming to the end of an administration and there's COVID dollars mixed in there, and that money must be spent. And this is the year that it must be spent in. So if the money is not spent all, and we're moving fast, we met with the city, they have a grant and they were gonna go first. We were gonna follow behind them because those same legislators I mentioned earlier got funds to help us through the city as well as this one. So we flipped it again and we're going first to try to spend our money first to get as much of it spent because we don't want to give any money back, but we don't have a choice. We were so delayed with trying to get the easements to allow us to move forward with COVID. We were somewhat delayed. So that's kind of like where we are now. You can see a layout of the Jackson House property. The print is pretty light. If you want it more, we can give it to you. If you see those two orange sections actually shows you the temporary easement on the east and west side. And then that tree that you can see pushing off of the back green, outside of that tree what we have already gained. We actually have the papers for it now. We have a proposed timeline, which is only proposed, and we only making assumptions. We cannot make it exact until the contract manager come online. You see the rendering from the architect. I will tell you that everything in that rendering is correct except one thing, and if you look at it to let you know how tedious they are at the historical level, that ramp is attached to the house. It is required to have ADLs. But the state made it explicitly clear that the ramp wasn't there when the house was built in 1900, 1901, and it can't be there now. So the ramp is in the redrawing and design plan. The ramp is being moved off the house. It must be freestanding. So when they say build it back like it was, that's what they mean. If you look at that glass section on the back of the house, that is not a part of the historic designated area. That was a room back there that Willie Robinson's father built on the back of that porch. If you go by it, you will see that porch back there. That is not a part of the historic designated area. So anything we put from where you see that darker black line there, where the glass start, from there up must be consistent with what was there before. From there back, we can do anything. And so the idea in our discussions was to put that back there, put a piece of mortar on to the historical house, which the state did approve from a historical perspective. And that's why the ramp was put there, because the entrance now will be in the back. So that the ramp wouldn't have to go up like this from the front, but it would be at a slower decline to enter in the back. And we wanted to make sure that the house was accessible to everyone. It's not just wheelchair accessible ramp, but we knew that on the second floor, that people needed to get up there. So that glass section allowed us to put an elevator there to go to the next floor. So that's why that's there. Next steps, you kind of heard some of these already. I won't go over them. And TCRA, your support matters. We really need you to help us restore the Jackson House. Again, you'll see another rendering and 2 other renderings. And we thank you so very much for allowing us the time and the opportunity to present this to you. And before I stop, I would just like to tell you the true next step. And I would like Dr. Scott to just tell you where we are with the RROC.
So as of Dr. Collins was mentioning, at this time we have our RFP out for the construction management firm to come and to take this project on. We have had individuals who have reached out to us to get more details on it. We do have this in 3 different phases. Right now, we trying to, because of time, it's kind of speeding up the process. We could have put out the RFQ for it to see from the qualified company. So in this process, when they read the RFP, they can see that we're actually looking for phase 1 is we're looking for the qualified firms. Once they submit their proposals to us, we will review those with the committee, and then we will reach back out to them so that we can go ahead on and give them. And this gives us the same time for our architect of record to give us the drawings as well as the timeline, because that's what that CM company is going to need in order to be able to give us as close as possible a cost analysis of this particular project as well. So once we go through all of that phase, we'll do a walk around site with them. And then the committee themselves will make a determination along with the architect of record to see what firm will move forward with us taking this project on. Once we do that, then we will go ahead and continue to make that public announcement of who the CM is, and we can continue to communicate with state partners as well of the things, the deliverables we need to submit to them in order to not be in as much jeopardy of losing as much funds. So you'll see us move a little quicker because we're trying not to basically lose those funds, but we want to stay in compliance with everyone from the state, from the county, and also with the GR. We want to be in compliance.
And that will conclude our presentation to you. We did have a press release on Saturday. And we did that to let the community know. We had gotten calls every day during Black History Month to come and talk. And we just felt that we couldn't go to the house every day of the week. So we purposefully selected the last day of the month to go there and to thank the community for their support and to present it. And just for information, in case you guys wanted, I did bring a copy of the press release so that you all will have it if you want to. And it was in two parts because we wrote the first part on the 23rd and we released the press release. And it gives you all the details about what we were going to do and what we are looking for and how the community can help if they know any construction manager firms, et cetera. And then the other part was just a general history of where we were in the house, where we've been, and where we plan to go. And then they closed out with a salute on the first one to the Johnny Thumb. Any questions?
So Courtney, we had this money identified for years, right? We've been tracking it year to year, so we've got it.
Yep.
And the ask is for the $1 million that we budgeted for now, right?
The ask is for the $1 million that you budget, and my ask is, and I think I got it clear, when can we come back? I know that in 2025,
Well, it's when we open applications. Right now, we're not accepting applications. So once we open,
the applications, we can come back.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so this ask is to do what we've already been given, but we didn't want to do it and not tell you guys we wouldn't come back.
Yeah, we appreciate that because people do that sometimes.
Yeah, and a motion wasn't necessary today. It's really just a courtesy update since this was in 2022 that it was put into the budget. So we just thought it would be nice for us to invite them and for and provide an update to the CAC since this is the CAC that agreed to the funding back in 2023. But yes, it's just been rolling year to year until it was ready. So it's been built into the budget for 4 years now. Thank you.
Yeah, please,
Surprise.
We can, since we've known, thank you.
we like it when people spend the money, so go ahead and spend it while you can.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're learning that now.
Good luck to you all.
Okay, thank you so very much.
It'd be nice.
And then they'll be presenting with the CRA board as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you again.
And that helped us out in City Council.
Next on the agenda is the qualified opportunity zone briefing.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Tony Brown. I'm the Vice President of Community Development for the Tampa Bay Economic Development Council. I can talk through the deck as well, and I apologize, the page on numbers, so from time to time, I'll show my page. First, I want to say thanks to Dr. Collins and all that she and her folks are doing on the Jackson House. I've been in Tampa 5 years, and my first year I went to Leadership Tampa. And we toured the Jackson House outside, obviously, because it was fenced off. But then from there, we went to the History Museum. So I just think it's so vital that we celebrate our history, our culture, the things that have made this country great. And so I just want to say thank you for that, and thank this committee for all you do to make our downtown wonderful. I serve on the board of another historical property, the Tampa Theater. And you've made a huge investment in the restoration and the rehabilitation of the Tampa Theater. You know, it's closed down because of extensive rehab. And so I just want to say thank you for that. Now, on that note, as the Vice President of Community Development, I was brought in to help build our strategy of helping businesses expand and grow in our underserved areas, which we defined as opportunity zones and areas that have been defined as a community redevelopment area. I don't know how familiar you are with the Opportunity Zone program, but you may hear the term POZ1. I will tell you it played an instrumental role in the development of Water Street. It is playing an instrumental role in the investment in gasworks. And what we're hoping, those of us who have been in the community development finance field for years, is that with the program having been made permanent in the big beautiful bill, that we're hoping that markets, financial institutions will find a way to put more money in our street. And so I'm here to talk to you about the Opportunity Zone program. So just by show of hands, who's heard of the program in any minor or large perspective? Okay, all right. So I'd like for this to be a conversation. I don't think I could talk as long as Dr. Sullivan. I'm taking a breath and getting some water. So I was impressed at how she was able to go. But I'd like for this to be a conversation. So the Opportunity Zone program came about 10 years ago. And Tampa did a wonderful job of having the areas designated. For the most part, our Opportunity Zones overlap with the area's redevelopment agencies. So what we're doing now, we're going through the process of identifying what the zone should be in the next decade. And the first time around, it was a top-down approach. The governors designated what the opportunity zones would be for each area. This time, we're taking a more proactive approach and making sure that members of the community know about the program, telling us where are the catalytic projects so that we in turn can make a recommendation to the governor regarding the program. I've taken a slight modification of previous presentations I've made to the other community advisory committees, because with the changes in the program, you downtown will lose the designation of the census tracts that were designated an opportunity zone under QOZ 1.0. So under 2.0, the program has been modified, and I'll flip through a few pages to tell you about that. On Thursday, we're having the other modification I'm making because I'm so close to a webinar that we're planning on Thursday. We have we've invited our public to a webinar. I say we, the EDC is working in partnership with the city and the county in analyzing the areas that qualify for an opportunity zone. And it is our intent to present a list of tracts that we think should be designated as an opportunity zone, so that it's not necessarily a top-down approach, but a bottom-up. And so I'm here to tell you about the program and share some of the analysis we've done. And if you have any thoughts or questions or nominations for tracts, census tracts, I can tell you about the process that we have to let us know. I don't know if you know about our organization, but we're an economic development organization. We are 100% nonprofit. 2/3 of our funding come from organizations like TGH. TGH is one of 3 of our highest level visionary investors, with TICO and Port Tampa Bay being the others. We have a service contract with the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County. If a company calls wanting to know where to locate, where to expand, the mayor sends that prospect to us. We were instrumental in partnering with Tampa General Hospital and U.S. Health in the formation and defining where the Tampa Medical Research District is before it spun off and became an affiliate. Justin may not recall, but I've been in his office to see where you're going, what assets you're buying, and how can you and Tampa work together. I remember. So I'm just going to flip, and I've numbered my pages because I print mine on front and back, and I just numbered my odd pages. But in the header that reads place-based development without qualified opportunity zone 2.1, and the first bullet says program made permanent. So that's what's exciting. And then if you see the map, these are the current opportunity zones largely defined by your redevelopment areas, the largest of which being East Tampa. As you know, East Tampa is a large CRA. And then you can see what's been defined as the urban core is largely Channel Side and the downtown CRAs and Drew Park and the university area. So the program was made permanent. The thing that's interesting about this program, I always say, we all know there's only three stacks of capital. There's debt. You guys have influenced the control of grant funds, and then there's equity. And the example I use is that when we go to buy a house, the bank requires us to put money down. Starting a business, the bank will require you to put money down. Being a commercial real estate developer, it's always about loan to value, debt to equity, debt to loan. And so the Opportunity Zone program, if you think of it, has been the federal government's way of spurring equity investments into low-income areas defined by opportunity zones. anyone in this room can form what's called a qualified opportunity fund. We just have to find someone who's had a capital gain to invest that capital gain into an opportunity zone fund. And then that fund can invest in any project as long as it's in a qualified opportunity zone. So though, and if you ask me a question, maybe give me a little bit about where you work and what you do, because other than Dustin, that give me a chance to know what aspect of your question, and I can answer from hopefully understanding your background and perspective. But so it is an effort to attract equity into underserved areas. When the program first came about, because the New Workers Tax Credit Program has been so successful in financing real estate, what members of Congress hoped was that this program would provide equity into businesses. For the most part, it has still gone into real estate, but it has gone into real estates that are doing mixed income, mixed use projects. SPP, Vinnick, and Cascade use it to develop one of the Marriott hotels. I can tell you Dorshaw and Gasworks have used the program to attract equity for things in Gasworks. What we hope is that the program will go beyond the major redevelopment and will work its way down to folks like Urban Reworks and others that can maybe find ways to attract equity in order to do smaller projects. My next page is kind of do a difference between 1.0 versus 2.0. The main delight for those of us who've been in this is that the program is permanent. Every 10 years, the opportunity zones will be redesignated. So it's important for us to get it right, because otherwise we're stuck with it for 10 years. And I'll tell you what we've been doing with our government partners to help better ensure that we're getting it right. The other important change is that I wish I could tell you how much equity has flowed from this program into Tampa. I can't, because the program under 1.0 did not require reporting. It required a fund to get certified by the IRS. It didn't require them to report. The changes have created stronger requirements. So beginning in probably 2018, we can begin to tell you what they've invested in and what impact it's had. The other major program, though, is not a change in the program that is not so significant for Hillsborough County, is that there are enhanced rule incentives. So there is what's called a step-up basis. And if you would, actually I kind of jumped over. So how does the program work? What would incentivize me, if I had a capital gain, to put my money into a fund? Well, the first thing is that with my capital gain, I get a discount on the taxes I pay. And I have up until 5 years to take that discount. I put that money into a fund. If that fund stays in there for 10 years and it gets a subsequent gain, that subsequent gain is tax-free. And that's the beauty of someone that is putting a major amounts of equity into a project, to see that I redefine Tampa by redefining Ward Street, for instance. And who knows what happened in 10 years, what that will say is worth. So that's the value of it. What you see in the map to the right, where how QOZ is selected, you can see in, I guess, the purple areas, those areas that qualify for an opportunity zone.
Tony, are you saying that in the new plan that if you go rural, you get a 30%?
Yes.
Versus, and that wasn't that way before.
It was not.
Big
Yeah.
change.
Yeah. So I don't know if anyone here have a business that operate in multiple counties, but that is a huge benefit. Someone like a Tico could see how that could be a very large benefit. Mosaic here is headquartered here. I mean, it's public, so they had a $500 million capital gain. So we have companies that have had major sources of capital gains that we're hoping, with the program being permanent, that we'll find some creative ways to help expand the mission of all the time that you spend making our downtown. So the way the process is, so the governors of each state get to nominate the opportunity zones. They can only nominate no more than 25% of the potential areas. And so you can see the following slide. We have 335 census tracts in Hillsborough County. 95 meet the requirements of being nominated for an opportunity zone. And if the governor said, put a cap on each county at 25%, out of those 95, we could nominate no more than 23. And with the changes, and I'll show you in subsequent slides, you'll see that just with the designation, we would lose at least 9 of the previous tracks that were designated. As we go through this process with Florida Commerce, they said, don't worry about putting an arbitrary cap, just justify the areas that can attract equity and that will have a catalytic impact in the areas that are designated. My colleague here, Diego, is a senior at USF, and he's been with me now, 3 months?
It's been like 7 months now.
I'm saying, I just told him I hate to lose. So, and he's been wonderful. He's done a lot of analysis. So this is the page to give you a sense of the changes. And please ask me questions next lesson. So as we go along, you can see in the circle that you lost a major census tract. You have one that was designated under 1.0. You have in the 3 that's defined as the 2 downtown CRAs, they encompass 3 census tracts. So that's the 03 or the 1 tract that was designated in 2016. Because you lost the opportunity zones, I decided I didn't want to really talk about the program changes in any detail. If anybody want to know about it, please attend our webinar. But I thought I would just deviate a little bit, if you allow me. As I said, first, thank you. And then secondly, I realized that downtown is the term, our richest CRA, I guess 30 million is what's projected for 2026. And what you do with those dollars matter. And so I took the opportunity, and mainly because of my job, is I watched the different programs and plans and the Tampa Downtown Partnership. I'm going to pass out the EDC strategic plan. We were instrumental in working with TGH on the vision plan for the Tampa Medical Research District. And so I'm going to share some of that knowledge because I think that, downtown is so pivotal in how people see Tampa, that your work is extremely important. And your implementation of the downtown CRA plan is critical. And what we do to track and leverage private investment is so important. And so if you look at the page that use TIF to incentivize private investment, to me, that is key. It's what we've done separate from the grants you make to nonprofit organizations, cultural organizations, because creating a great sense of place is important to attracting workers and people to live downtown. That's important to the EDC. I can tell you a number of times that companies who are considering our area want to know, is there, do we have a skillful workplace? TGH investment in the medical research district is all about attracting researchers and others to this great place. So if you don't mind the sense of personal privilege, I looked at the EDC strategic plan and the Tampa Downtown Partnership, and particularly its North End vision, to say, where are the intersection of things that we can do together to really continue to make this a great place? In our plan, under community development or place-based development, you'll see that we have a bullet for site readiness. Obviously, anything that we do is all about site control. Dusty can talk about it. And so how our CRAs or how CRAs help developers or nonprofits assume site control is so important. We at EDC see it mainly as how do we help instill our industrial base, some of our targeted industries that include healthcare, manufacturing, and a few, and I'll pass this out. So how you use your dollars to help ensure that if you control the real estate, you pretty much control the destination of what you want. And so site readiness, infrastructure is important. and what we call future city technology as AI and other things just change the way we do business. We just have to stay on top of that to make sure that Tampa continues to prosper. And so I sort of correlated that with just the north end of downtown. I live downtown, I walk to work. And so I know all the great amenities that downtown has to offer. I have no sympathy for people who complain about traffic. So sorry, commute, because it takes me 5 minutes to walk to work. It's an issue though, when I go to Orlando, but being able to be, that's a separate topic. But I think, and I'm gonna go for this quick because I said if time I want to have a conversation. And so the North End Vision Plan and how the conversations you have with the partnership with others to continue to make our downtown grow. The only thing, I hear from others, well, the downtown CRA is rich, the county wants its money back, you've achieved goal. I will tell you, as someone who's in downtown, you have not achieved goals. There's plenty to do. And I think that the one graphic that caught my attention in the partnership plan was its vision for the extension of the streetcar. And if you look, and they had another graphic, and you look at the bubbles around downtown, these are where we are going to designate opportunity zones. And so just people who come into our downtown and walking out of downtown or take the streetcar to go to Ybor and other places, they begin to see that our community is vibrant beyond just downtown or our suburbs. The expansion of the Riverwalk, I think, will make West Tampa an area to grow. In other presentations I made to CAC, they've asked, well, will opportunity zones spark gentrification? And I say, honestly, it could, but it won't if you support, and he just happens to be here, sorry if I use an example, but if you support developers or nonprofits that's doing affordable housing that can compete with the marketplace, then we can ensure that there's an inventory of housing. And so you make housing affordable by allowing nonprofits and developers to buy down the cost so that it can have income restrictions so that people can afford to live. I think the streetcar expansion, I've shared this to members of the advisory committee in the Tampa Medical Research District. Tampa would love to see the streetcar come across the river and touch and go around its campus. And if you look at the graphic, you can see how it comes full circle. And so I think these are the things that we can think about, have a bold, audacious vision of how we connect our community, how we grow our community, and how we distinguish it from other places in Florida and in other places in the United States. So I'm gonna pause there, and I know we've began 2 presentations with a lot of your time, but again, as I said, thank you, and challenge all of us to say, how can we work better together to leverage resources to continue to make our community grow.
So why is the downtown zone ineligible in 2.0? Because of all the development?
Because the demographics change.
Yeah,
So I think I may jump.
that makes sense, but then north of that, there's one that's missing too.
So, and I jumped over it. So the biggest change in the opportunity zone, two major changes. It went from areas that were defined as 80% of area median income or less to 70%. So that's the one major change. And then you can go up to 125% of area median income. For us, it's about $106,000. If the poverty rate, if the number of people living at or above the poverty rate is greater than 20%. And then it used to be that if you were adjacent to a qualifying area, then you can automatically allow that area to benefit from an opportunity fund. So Ybor, for instance, has 3 census tracts that kind of encompass the investment that Gasworks and Girl Shaw's doing, and only one of the 3 qualify. And the other one barely missed it. It's at about 95% area median income. I'm looking at the he did a lot of the analysis, but the poverty rate was less than 20%. And even the members of that CAC questioned why Ybor Harbor, or Ybor Harbor or East Ybor was the one that they questioned. And we brought that up to Florida Commerce, and they told us to, we got about 4 census tracts we're challenging. Because they've used the American Community Survey, ACS estimate, and they know if it's not completely accurate as opposed to the census.
Okay.
Tony, I know just a little tiny bit about opportunity zones, but so let's say Tico invests money into a fund. How then? Who oversees that fund? How does selects how that money is spent and where it is utilized?
So that will end up being a discussion between Tico and the fund manager and where they invest. Typically, what I've seen the folks who've had pitch decks is that they have been real specific about the investment and the return on investment and the return of. Obviously, having a 10-year hold works well in real estate. I'm sorry, here's another state.
Oh, okay.
Works well in real estate. It doesn't work so well for venture funds. Most venture capitalists want to hit a home run. They want to get in and get out. But for real estate, a 10-year hold typically works. And so if a TCO were to invest, it's obviously going to invest in its, I use the term, selfish vested interest, right? And self-interest. And so it could be mission driven. It could be the fact that they're looking to build a new plant or whatever. But it's the negotiation was going to be between the investor and the project manager.
Is that under the EDC, the project manager?
Well, if the EDC were to create a fund, and we're going to have that conversation with some of our leadership, we've talked about creating a fund in, or he knows this, that the East Hampton Industrial District has been where the EDC is focused on live, learn, development. If we were to do a fund, it would be to spur the vision that we have in the industrial district. As I've talked to other CRAs, I think that a fund citywide could work well in using the term site readiness, land assemblage. But even if you help capitalize the fund for land assemblage, there are rules. You just can't hold it to land bank and flip it. You have to, there's a timeline to substantially improve it. And so as rich as this CRA is, you can't capitalize a fund because it has to be a capital gain. But if I were to capitalize a fund for site assemblage, I might could potentially come to you and say, could you help me with my carrying costs, maintenance and taxes, or everything I need to do before we put something on that site.
Well, important to know, we look rich on paper, so we are mostly committed. Most of our dollars are committed over years and years. So we have very little flex unless things get canceled.
Yeah. And I mean, as I said, I know you made a multi-year commitment, but I think you had.
We put amount of money for affordable housing.
That's true. We have a ton of money for affordable housing, actually. We don't need from that. We do.
And it's not probably a topic for discussion. I've had conversations with officials at the city, and I ran the redevelopment agency, and I was able to convince my board to leverage it, which means let's borrow money. And so instead of paying as I go, right, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, we leveraged it, got a $20 million loan, and then we were able to double down on a targeted redevelopment area. You know, our administration is very conservative when it comes to debt, but between the timeline of when the CRA is going to sunset and the amount of time that you have to use the county's money, you know, I think it becomes a strategy to say, is there enough happening that we could spend several million a year, or we could get a $20 million lump sum and do something significant? And I think that is a conversation that many CRAs have across the state that is less frugal as Tim. make sure. If I got some time, again, I might be on the camera. So if I want to get called into the mayor's office. Other questions, and like I said, I really want this to be a conversation because I think you guys do great work.
I really want to see some housing at the north end. You know, I know there's a lot of properties there that could be assembled, and there's some state owned and there's some city owned and we've got money. I mean, North End is not in downtown CRA though.
It parts of it is, yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be nice to be able to build something
It's
there,
very,
Yeah.
not large, but a little bit.
you know, on the south.
Will Silverstein pull out of the 505 Tyler project?
Say that again.
The 505 East Tyler project across from Florida?
Am I familiar with it? I didn't understand the question.
I think it's been stalled. isn't it?
Oh, okay.
The Silverstein development,
Yeah.
you're saying? Yeah, I haven't heard anything recently.
Yeah.
It's a big deal when it got announced. What we really need to do is have the Cardis develop all of their empty parking lots. That would be a great, that'd be fantastic.
Look at that.
Well, the city of Chicago passed a policy where the surface parking lots were taxed at their development potential rather than their current use, which forced a lot of it.
Well, you said you're leveraged down, but I mean, you look at all the high rises under construction. I mean, they haven't even hit the tax roll yet, so you might be today.
Oh, no, we're watching that.
Yeah, so,
Let me know that.
and the bank is not gonna allow you to lend against your projected, right? But they will look at your current, and obviously, typically they'll look at overhead, you know, what is it gonna take to manage it? The things that are discretionary, like the grants or whatever, if they're not performing or if they have a way for the city to get out of it, is considered discretionary. So it's usually something that you can negotiate with whatever lenders wanted to lend against the TIF.
Who was the lender at your CRA, you said?
It was Truist.
Okay.
And at the time that, when I was CRA director, that Truist lent money to the CRA, they did it in a way, and I'm a former banker, and so I had some inside knowledge. But the city manager at the time said, they would approve me borrowing the money as long as the city didn't have to back it. And so Truist lent our CRA, this is for your visa, Truist lent our CRA the money, but they took a lien on the TIF. So obviously they had a first lien on the TIF, which did mean if we were servicing the debt, they would get paid first. And luckily at the time, when our CRA directors over 10 years ago, the TIF was about 2 million, and when I left, it was 6, and now it's about 14. Well, thank you. Hopefully you invite me back. I'd love to talk to you. That's a good city, maybe. Discussion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and if anyone want to attend our webinar, and we'll go deeper into the opportunity developments, that Courtney Nolan gets you a invite. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to listen in as well. Doing things in different parts of the city, so it's always nice to know what's happening everywhere. Thank you. I do. Wherever it works.
Yeah, all else.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Staff reports?
Yeah, one thing, all the updates are here listed on the spreadsheet, but Herman Massey Park, there was delays with fencing and some other.
No, they discussed it like,
Yeah, I think you guys are on.
yes.
Okay, good, because I always don't know if the comms teams, when I forward you the appointments, if you're also getting the.
I've got it right in pencil in my calendars.
Pencil, because yes, I think April 21 hopefully will stick. So April 21 is the ribbon cutting now. So I'm glad, I wanted to ask that you're getting those updated appointments, so you'll show up on the Monday. And that's it, all the updates are listed there, if you have any questions, just let me know. Same for the commercial grant spreadsheet and housing. Justin, your point, have a lot of money,
No,
but we don't have,
nobody's even asking for it.
so, but yeah, so that's new. Fee Parks is starting, her team is starting to do these monthly updates like the other two teams. And then we have the orientation. If you have never been to an orientation and can make it, or just wanna see if anything's changed from a legal standpoint, so there's a new CRA legal gentleman, he'll be presenting at that orientation, so everyone's welcome to come, new or existing. And then I just wanted to mention that, we need to start doing the fiscal year 27 budget planning. So I'll plug in numbers, but I just was looking at my cash flow and I have hardly anything to play with at all.
Yeah.
So we're probably just gonna see not much to budget in fiscal year 27, so.
Yeah, I was there for Jackson House was here to ask us for more money.
They-
I'm there.
Now, I will tell you that we only knew about the million, and we wanted that as a courtesy update since it's been 4 years. We just asked that. They submitted a new presentation with 4 million. Like, no. So we've asked them to just stick to the 1 million, and that when the next cycle opens, if they are interested in increasing that request or putting in for a new plus $3 million request, that would come later. So, so it's probably,
They won't know for a few months until they get their real bids.
yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's coming. I just don't know how many months away.
You had sent me an email about the Habitat for Humanity. Did you ever get any ideas?
Well, he was gonna follow up. I just sent for the chairs. For districts I manage, and so, that's the only, this was the only recommendation that came back, and that he was gonna look into it, but because there.
I didn't recommend the Riverwalkers.
Yeah, she said Marion and Franklin. And Franklin, we're gonna start work on in this, hopefully fiscal year. But then, Madison, Marion, because there's really not a residential component, he wasn't sure. So it's Habitat for Humanity, so.
So basically Habitat for Humanity reached out and said, hey, we want to do some like neighborhood beautification projects.
Pick some streets.
What do you want us to do?
Yeah.
No, I only want to think about Riverwalk.
Uh-huh.
Because think about the whole downtown.
So I said, we should ask the rest of the group if they have any suggestions on neighborhoods. What about any of the neighborhoods like on the river that may have experienced damage from the hurricanes? I don't.
South of Yankee got hit pretty far outside.
Well, again, it wouldn't be, I mean, you sent it to all of the Tampa CRAs.
Just the
that
urban
you were
ones,
overseeing.
yeah.
Well, what about Tampa Heights? I mean,
Yeah,
you know, if there's flooding from the river, there's residential.
yeah, I'll reach out to Raj again. I didn't get a response. I'll see if he has any patients.
Well, the Tampa Heights CRA is surprisingly tiny. It doesn't actually include any of the single family that probably got impacted, but
The boundaries
yeah. Still worth sending them.
or Harbor Island,
Or what?
Harbor Island, Davis Islands.
Yeah,
What do they have for ideas for beautification?
whoops, sorry.
What does that mean?
When they said, hey, we wanna.
What did the email say?
Yeah, I have projects. I mean, is that like murals on the streets or is
I
that?
don't think that, yes, it could potentially include that. I have to fill out the email. Looking to team up with us to select a street to beautify. And we're looking to fund a community project similar to what we did for Highland Pines and Star Street. Proposed work would include repairs for low-income homeowners within a community and the revitalization of community space like a park, community garden, community center, etc. You know, of any areas or community partners, you know,
So we're looking for areas in disrepair.
Jackson House.
What about the street in front of Jackson House? Can they repay that? or-
We do have 1.2 million in our budget, that was placed in there years ago.
Yes, on
that
that
road project improvement. So 1.2 is already in the budget, and that was mobility asking for those funds. But I don't know when that's gonna happen, but we do have monies for that.
What's our bylaws say about attendance
It's, not to miss more than 3.
and what happens when you do?
Then, well, I'll tell you that Omar is gonna be resigning, because he sold his property right there
Okay.
and he's moving to Spain.
Yeah, I think he's at 3 anyway.
Yeah, so, but yeah, we normally will send a letter and say, you know, that's your maximum absences. But I know Omar,
Do we have anybody else that's been missing? Like, did Rebecca cycle off
oh yeah,
and
Casey left the partnership,
Ryan both, yeah,
he cycled off.
Casey left. Or
So the only members that are on the current
less than Ray.
committee, right, Ray and Omar, are the two that aren't here.
When is my term up? You'll soon be here. I think there's a term, right?
There is, I'd have to look, you're probably close when
It's
you're.
gotta be close.
If you want to leave.
Well, I'm just saying, like.
Casey's working in St. Pete?
You know, I don't know, he went to Lime, you know, the scooter company,
Oh, yeah.
but then I
think
got,
he's not in line.
okay, I got a bounce back.
Jeez.
I don't know where you went, but I think it was a month.
He joined, his application is
Yeah,
up.
I read one from Record Station, but I can't think of where. he's
Central
at
Park.
right now.
He's gonna, he applied to the Central Park CRA,
For the CAC.
CAC, Central Park CAC. So I'll see him again soon, but I don't know where he is.
Sparklet's gas station.
Yeah,
Okay.
on core development,
Oh, just,
because I guess he's a resident of that.
okay. that
Area.
makes sense.
I'll text him and tell him that we send our love.
What's the minimum number of members you're supposed to have?
Oh, let's see, we have 9. Per the policy, we can have
Minimum?
maximum,
Maximum, what's the minimum to function?
we don't have a minimum.
Oh, so you could do this with 2 members, one person quorum?
It has to be 51%, so you have to bring your sign
Yeah,
on.
so you need 3 members then. Okay. Yeesh.
But we only have 2 vacancies.
Yeah.
One for the partnership, but they have to assign somebody. And then another at-large position.
Can they assign Karen? Is there a reason they can't
I
assign
was
Karen?
hoping that
Why
we-
won't they?
I was hoping-
Well, I don't know, because I think she served her time apparently before my time, when she sat on this.
There's a lifetime maximum?
No. I see,
The personal life.
yeah.
So we have 2 technically open positions plus Omar's.
Correct. So I noted here resigning. I asked him if he was still gonna stay because he's not moving for the summer, but I didn't get a response if he was still gonna be active or not. Because he said, just keep an eye out for someone to replace me. I'm moving in the summer. And I said, well, you stay active, and I didn't hear from him.
Who is he? He represents a neighborhood or?
No,
Just the-
yeah, he's an at large. Yeah, so we have 2 at larges in partnership available.
The partnership can appoint someone not working for the partnership, or they have to be an employee.
Not working.
Okay, so they can appoint.
They could.
Yeah, didn't they, the chair, a couple chairs ago, he was like chair of the CRA, CAC, wasn't he on behalf of the partnership, but he was an employee of the partnership when he was on their board.
Okay.
Yeah,
Not Dan, Michael?
Oh,
yeah, they can assign somebody. They don't have to be an employee.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Any other announcements?
That's small one.
Well, then, we'll go ahead and adjourn it.
It's a small one, it's a small one. Join us on the fourteenth. We sponsored the mayor's, Road Green Fest, the Leprechaun Hideout. So if you're around, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, come see us at 6.
Sorry, remind me who we are?
Oktoberfest now.
Okay.
Joanna has her beer tent too, if you want the drink.
Nice.
Okay. For real,
Now?
we'll go ahead and adjourn. Still 6:51 PM.
Okay. For the long one.
Yeah, sorry.
For no votes.
I know.
Education, very long education.
We always enjoy these. We did not have air on